everyone. So we're back for another episode of the Back Home Media Talk Show, available to listen on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. So today I'm here with Coach Gary Felton, or Coach G for short, and we're going to be talking about his youth sports team. So I want to start with your program and your philosophy. So what is the main mission of the VA Seahawks program?
Well, first and foremost, the Virginia Seahawks, that's my nonprofit organization for ages 4 through 11 for football and 4 through 12 for cheerleading. And our main goal is to provide a family-oriented atmosphere for the kids where we're teaching them life lessons through the game. We want
And so how has
football-wise.
that mission...
Football-wise,
All right,
we
that's good.
definitely want to make sure that the kids are developing, so that we can prepare them for the next level as well as cheerleading. So, but the biggest thing is making sure that we're teaching all the young athletes, student athletes, where I mean, yeah, teaching them, to have a student first approach to everything that they have going on, and making sure that we're instilling life lessons.
And so how has that mission evolved throughout the years as you started the program?
Could you repeat that?
Mhm.
Could you
So how
repeat
has
that?
that oh, yeah, of course. So how has that mission evolved or matured over the years?
That's kind of, at first, when I first started coaching the kids, I was just more so worried about winning. Just trying to get the best kids to be a part of my team. So just as you grow, as I grown as a coach, a mentor, the wins and losses. I teach my kids, if we ever take a L, it's not a loss, it's a lesson. Something that we can learn from, and overcome. The next time that we're in a similar situation. But just growing as a coach, being around coaching different coaches at the high school level, because I also coach at Lansdowne High School now. So just learning from those guys, and taking some of those similar philosophies back to the youth, so I can make sure that I'm honoring my word when I say that I'm definitely trying to make sure that we're developing and making sure the kids are ready for the next level.
So you were mentioning a bunch of different coaches. Was there a specific mentor that shaped you in your philosophy?
Yeah, definitely I could say that. And then trial and error. So, like I said, just kind of how when I first started coaching when these kids were 6 years old. Um, like I said, I kind of had a different approach about the game, and just was more so worried about winning. And we always focus on the development aspect of the game, but we just over time, just growing, maturing, you look at the game, start to look at the game through a different lens, and we're gonna continue to grow each and every day, so we can keep providing, the family-oriented atmosphere where the kids are receiving upper echelon coaching, you know, just trying to keep doing the right thing for the community.
And so how do you really define a success for your teams between just wins and losses? I know you said each loss would be a lesson, but can you elaborate on that?
Each loss being a lesson, I say that because football is 80% mental. Little things that happen, because my team, we've competed against the top teams in the country. So my kids, they're definitely built for those big games. So in youth football, a lot of these games where it comes down to coaching and mental mistakes. A lot of my kids sometimes, when we do fall on the short end of the stick, is due to us making mental mistakes, costly penalties at a costly point of the game, stuff like that. So definitely, that's why I could say, it's if we do take a loss, a L is not a loss, it's a lesson, because we'll learn from it. Conditioning wise, might go a little harder when we face that tough time in the game. Then we'll overcome that situation. And when we
And so for your season goals, I know that you're starting to get some new kids to join your teams. What are your main goals for your team this season?
For 10U specifically, the the standard is to get to the AYF National Championship and be able to hoist up that championship trophy at the end of the season come December. So expectations are high. We've won UIFL National Championship already. So we're switching leagues this season, going the AYF route. You know, AYF has more premier teams, so we're looking for the competition to showcase the talent that we have here in the 757.
And is there a game or practice calendar that people can follow so that way they can follow your journey?
Yes, they could follow the handle VA Seahawks 10U that has our schedule up there, as well as our website, www.vaseahawks.org. And they could subscribe
And
to the
so for my
mailing
next
list.
question, they definitely can. And so what are some of the biggest challenges that you're preparing for this season? I know that you said you're switching leagues. So what would be that challenge with that?
Playing more premier teams, better competition. We're actually playing one of the better teams from Maryland tomorrow's at 2 p.m. at Bayside High School in Virginia Beach. We're playing the Maryland Heat. You know, that's one of the better ranked teams in Maryland. So we'll be seeing them. Then the following week, next weekend, we'll be traveling to Alabama, where we'll be playing the Bessemer Tigers. That's the number one ranked 10U team in the country. They've won three youth national championships back to back to back for the past 3 years. So that's the reigning champs. So we're taking our team there to play those guys Saturday night in Alabama.
And so how do you build your resilience in your players when we're talking about developing them?
By making sure that practice is harder than the games, pushing the kids to their limits. Um, you know, definitely making sure that we run a high school style practice where it's broken down specifically, everything's on schedule, um, and holding those guys accountable. Some people look at it like they're only 10 years old. We look at it like, these kids, they can learn any TikTok dance that they see, any song, their favorite song that they hear on the radio. And, I really ask my kids each and every day, do you guys love this? And they always tell me that they love this. They want to be able to play in these showcase games across the country. They want to be able to have the camera, the spotlight on them. So as long as they show up ready to work, the coach is gonna follow suit. I tell my kids this is their team at the end of the day, and we're gonna only go as far as they take us. The best teams from any level, I believe, from all the youth league all the way up to the NFL. I strongly believe that the best teams are the player-driven teams where the players set the tone and the coaches can just follow suit. So, my guys make my job very easy. I just have to lead, and be the face of the program. But I definitely couldn't do anything. We couldn't do anything without the great parents that we have, first and foremost, the great coaches, the great volunteers. It really takes a village to raise these kids and provide, such a great thing that they can be a part of. Forever thankful, forever grateful for everyone who plays a part and adds a helping hand.
So for my next question, this is more focused on your coaching staff. So what do you look for when you are building your coaching staff? Like who do you want in your support structure?
First and foremost, I want someone who's committed because coaching youth sports is volunteer work. So, I know everyone life be life, honestly. So we understand that, but when we look for coaches to be a part of the Virginia Seahawks, we want someone who can be committed, who's gonna make sure they set aside the designated practice time hours where their schedule is free so that they can come, do their part for these kids. It's a commitment to the kids, and it's a lot of single women in youth sports. So, a lot of the mentors are male coaches. So, we these kids they look for us, they look at us like father figures, a lot of them. So, just making sure that we're honoring our commitment and showing up, the designated times where we're supposed to, where we've made the commitment to the organization, to the parents, and to the kids. That's first and foremost. Second, we really don't look as far as if a coach knows X's and O's, because just on my I could speak for my coaching staff for the 10U. Every coach on my staff isn't fully solid when it comes to X's and O's, but every coach definitely adds value to the staff. So, some coaches definitely X's and O's guys, but some coaches can tap in with the child's mental, and really, if a kid gets, down on himself, hey, that coach right there is the motivator who can get that kid to snap back in and forget about that bad play, so that they can move on and continue, playing in the game. So basically, if
Actually,
you're if you're a committed individual, a good abiding citizen in the community, and you feel as though you can definitely be an assistance or an asset to what we're looking to build for this next generation of student athletes in the 757, as well as the 804 community, Virginia Seahawks definitely has a position open for you.
I really do love that. Like, you're not just looking for those that can know the X's and O's, but they'll be able to grow with the team.
Yeah, because we strongly believe that it's bigger than just the X's and O's with what we're building. And if we build those relationships where the kids are really feel like they're part of a brotherhood, and the parents, they feel, that the coaches really have the best interests of the kids, then when it's time to put on the helmet and shoulder pads and go out and play football, those kids are gonna play their best brand of that.
And so, continuing on from that, do you or your team have like a team mantra or any like team rituals whenever going into the games?
Oh yeah, we have our different chants, to get the kids hyped up, ready to go play. So yeah, we have that. A lot of the kids we watch certain old college players highlight tapes like Tavon Austin, um, the Honey Badger, Tyron Matthew. Those kids love those guys' highlight tapes. And those are some of the same highlight tapes I watched as a high school kid. So seeing these kids, honor the players who came before them is pretty amazing, to see.
So, do you have any message to parents or supporters who would want to possibly join your team?
Hey parents, Coach G, reporting live. My message to anyone who's looking for something extracurricular to get their kid involved in, the Virginia Seahawks is the place to be. We're the hottest organization in the 757. We have top of the line coaches, top of the line parents, and we're doing something great for the community as a whole. We have kids as far as Richmond that travel to Virginia Beach to practice with us. By during the week, we have kids that come from every angle, every spectrum of the world. So everyone comes together for the same common goal, making sure that our next generation of student athletes are a part of something positive, teaching life lessons through the game. We're hard as coaches. We are hard on the kids, but it's for a reason. We want these kids to make sure that you know they're proud of what they're a part of and what we're building, which is the Virginia Seahawks.
And so, this is more of a curiosity question. I've been seeing those commitment posts. What influenced that?
Colleges, seeing different colleges as well as these high school kids that the youth kids look up to, and just knowing that we live in a social media world.
And so, was there like any specific college or just the idea of the commitment posts from colleges in general?
Just from the commitment post as a whole, especially like everything that sports plug sports plug, the the hottest media panel, media page in Virginia, seeing how they, align their posts and all of that, just making sure that my team, my kids get the same exposure opportunities, and type of pages, so the right people are the right audience is able to see it.
And so, for my final question, is there any specific unforgettable moment that you have with your team?
Winning our first national championship at 8U, because all of the hard work that my kids put in, it was all worth it at that moment. Seeing those kids, seeing the coaches, all the parents, all the sacrifices that went into that moment becoming surreal. That's forever memorable to me. It was definitely a great experience down there in Orlando, Florida. We're looking forward to doing it this upcoming fall season.
Well, that's pretty much all my questions for today. It was great having you on, and I hope to have you on again in the future. And I'll speak to you again soon.
Okay, I appreciate you for allowing me on your platform and, sharing my insights and letting the people know about the Virginia Seahawks Youth Organization.
First.